Y2K.
Wee woo, wee woo, wee woo.
That was a year where everyone was freaking out because they thought all of the computers were going to crash.
Well, guess what? Y2K is right now. It was just late. It was just delayed.
Well, I mean, let's not date this too much. There's events happening right now that are just being seen as like Y2K-esque, but it's really not that serious.
All the computers are blue screening.
Yeah. And it's essentially if you have this like security software, the update screwed you and your computer is now into endless blue screening.
It says there's like billions and I wouldn't say billions and billions, but there's millions and billions of computers that are blue screening, and it's all like corporate shit. So like flights are getting canceled. Banks can't give you money. You can't like process payments.
This is literally Y2K.
Right now. Yeah.
Like this is what everyone was afraid of, except planes aren't falling out of the sky.
So in 1999, people believed that Windows, any computer that was running Windows would just like break because...
Let me pause you for a second. It was any computer.
Any computer, not just Windows?
Windows didn't have like the only market share back then.
So nobody knew if computers would be able to handle the year changing to 2000 because everything was, 1999 and math does weird things to computers and numbers does weird things to computers. So they thought...
It was specifically that once the year went from 1999 to the next year, instead of going to the year 2000, it was going to go round down to the year 1900. They only program computers to know the last two digits of any year. So
it'd be 00.
That's what they were scared of Y2K. They thought all these computers were going to go from the year 1999 and then suddenly jump back 100 years. And then I go, huh?
Which is honestly really funny.
What? Yeah, it's like computers weren't programmed to go back in time. So everyone was scared at like how they would react if they suddenly thought that the year changed 100 years in the past.
Kind of like when you time travel in Animal Crossing, you can literally go like years and years and years into the future or into the past, and it will still, like, things will still be there, and your villagers will be like, wow, it's been like 300,000 days since I've seen you.
I think it's kind of funny that consoles like allowed you to enter any year.
Yeah.
You could just go back to like the 1800s with your GameCube.
It's for like no reason. When freaking sign-up sheets. Wow, that's a weird way to say that. When you sign up for a website and they allow the year 1900.
I mean,
I think Steam does that.
Well, 1900 makes sense. It's 1800 that would make no sense.
1900 does not make sense. You would not be alive.
I think there are people who have made it to 120 plus.
Yeah, and they're signing up for a Steam account, and they need to put in their actual birthday so that they can look at the boobies jiggling on screen.
Oh my gosh. So what you're saying is that anyone who fits the statistical anomaly should be ignored. Yep, that's what you're saying.
Oh, what a reach.
Oh, that's not a reach.
You don't have arms and you're reaching for my throat.
Yeah? Well, there were people who were alive long enough to have TV interviews about the assassination of Lincoln.
1900. I mean, yeah, I guess they can't discriminate, so they just might as well do it from the beginning of the 1900s, but like...
Listen.
Anybody putting that as their registration birthday is lying.
No, not anybody.
Yes!
Just most people.
Tell me there was one person who was registered for a fucking website and was actually born in the year 1900 and they're not on a computer. They're not signing up for anything.
How do you know? You just don't know. You're just assuming. Okay, listen. I have a topic adjacent to Y2K I wanted to talk about because
all right, go ahead.
This is like it's been infatuating me for a few months now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it a lot. It's that We Live in Public project done by Josh Harris in the 90s.
Oh.
That is pretty much like it happened literally at the year 2000. Like he did this project in downtown New York where it was like this terrarium in the middle of the city where he just got all these people in a little camp and put cameras on them and put TVs everywhere and said, this is what the future is going to be like. No privacy. Everyone's going to see everyone.
The first ever like Big Brother type
that was like
scenario where everyone's always watching you.
Yeah, that was the inspiration. But
24/7.
It was crazy. There's a documentary on it. It's called We Live in Public.
We watched that recently together.
I don't know if it was live streamed or not.
I thought it was.
Because he did own, like, he was the founder of a live streaming platform in the 90s, if you believe it or not. I think it was called Pseudo. Don't call me on that. I think that's what it was called. But it was a live streaming service, not like Twitch where you could like sign up and anyone could stream. It was like if you were a corporate sponsor, you could stream. And they would do like radio shows. So I don't know if they ever streamed that specifically, but he dumped millions of dollars into this project. I mean,
he literally got like a bunch of people. He's like, do you want to be recorded and seen 24/7 for like 2 weeks and live in these little tiny bunkers and like party for 2 weeks? No rules, no parents, no rules. Basically, and also be like mentally interrogated. Would you like that?
It was fucking wild, honestly, how far they took some of that stuff. But more or less, you kind of just saw the breakdown of social order really fast. And things just kind of turned into like exactly what you'd expect overnight. Like you took
animals
people
that become animals
who were like, I mean, if any of you grew up in the 90s or like remember the 90s, this like degeneracy we see online really was not acceptable. A lot of this stuff was just like taboo. Hell, if you did porn, your life was over. Like if you did OnlyFans of that time, people looked at you like you were
Satan,
like you were crazy. Like, why would you do that
the
to
Antichrist?
Yourself? Yeah, like, and now I feel like it's like if you got into that, people are like, oh yeah, I understand. I did it too. Like, it feels like everyone has like a story now. Like, oh yeah, I sold feet pics. Oh yeah, I took pictures. I took
pictures of my armpits. Yeah,
like I feel like everyone has like their own story now. But back then, it was like that kind of like degeneracy was just shameful. So the fact that he could get a bunch of people in the room and it would degrade it degraded to those degrees really fast.
Yeah, like people ended up just
immediately
having sex like crazy, and they had TVs attached to every bunker and cameras attached to every bunker. So at any time you could tune in to someone else randomly down there, and people would just be fucking.
Yep.
There would be orgies even,
and they would watch people, and then people were like, "Why are you watching me?" It was like, "Well, I'm going to watch you then."
Yeah, there would be people crowding around other people's bunkers watching them have sex.
Yeah, it was crazy.
There was like a big like glass cage where people would take showers or something.
Yeah, in the middle of everything. The toilets were just in the middle of the room.
You were on display. Yeah, they said that, eventually I got used to the cameras in the toilets. They had cameras in the toilets. You were peeing and pooping and people were watching it.
Oh,
like,
God.
POV toilet.
POV shit.
Terrible, 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 terrible.
Yeah. And then that's not even to mention like the cult stuff, which is what ended up getting them shut down.
Yeah,
they were basically like role playing as like a cult.
Role-playing.
I swear to God, the emblem that they were using was just like, they just took the Nazi symbol and then just like flipped one of the sides.
Why? Why did it have to be the Nazis? Why?
And then they got shut down because it looked like a cult on New Year's. So the year 2000, roping it back to Y2K.
Yeah.
That was when the whole thing got shut down on New Year's.
Because cops were tipped off that some weird shit was happening down underground.
And they were doing one of their weird interrogations while they were getting raided. So there's just like this guy in a white room, naked, getting interrogated by a guy in a suit and some dude with a megaphone. Like, I don't know what his like goal was, but I think what he was trying to do is demonstrate that the future was going to look like 1984, but digitally, and we were all going to be subject to judgment from each other.
Yeah, he's saying that this was the life that we were going to have.
Yeah.
We were all going to be surveyed 24/7, no matter what we did. And you would have no privacy. But the problem is he ended up perpetuating some of these things because he was the one who was like, oh, well, people want sex. People want guns. So that's exactly what he provided.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that ended up becoming like a norm thing because people ended up wanting those things, looking for those things because, well, the really popular millionaires constantly having parties with like sex and drugs and guns.
To be honest, he's not the one who perpetuated that kind of culture. That was just everybody at the time.
I'm saying he did perpetuate it because he ended up being like a person of influence.
I think his perpetuation was more so in the space of like promoting that your privacy was no longer your private space, and that if you entered the space of the internet, you are now public and owned by the company that you are
he was saying that.
With.
He's like, and then we're going to sell them back their memories.
Yeah.
Like he was
just overtly saying that. Yeah.
In air quotes, because he ended up just doing exactly what he wanted to do, and he had a huge ego problem.
Oh yeah.
By the way,
it does get good because I feel like this stuff caught up with him, and at the second half of the documentary is an experiment where he literally turned the experiment on himself.
Yeah.
He put his whole house under surveillance, like
24/7.
Like cutting edge, like holy crap.
Live streaming. This was like the first live streaming ever.
Yeah, because he owned like a live streaming platform, but holy crap, the camera system in his house was like a cutting edge surveillance system. So anytime he entered a room, the camera was following him, his every movement, and anytime he would walk into another room, the live stream would also like auto update. There was a
live chat even.
Yeah, it was.
He had his own live chat. It was the year 2000.
Yeah.
Live streaming with live chat, and he would react to them, and people would donate to them.
Yeah, it's weird. It's wild.
He had a girlfriend, and
that
would go about how you expect, because eventually their whole life became about what are the chatters saying?
Yeah.
Everything they did was on display.
The relationship just looked like two people on Twitter with a bad relationship. If you know exactly what I'm talking about if you've seen it. Like two people who just break up and they take it to Twitter. That's basically what happened with these two, where they had basically he had like a power grab moment, and he started like grabbing her during intimate moments, and he scared her.
He did a real bad. He did a real bad.
Yeah.
And then like his ego got the best of him.
But the documentary, they were describing how like even though they were like seriously fighting, they felt like they were still performing for an audience.
Yeah.
Like they were trying to like win the audience over. We're like, no, I was right. No, you were wrong. Like,
yeah.
They were concerned about it.
It was basically a contest. Whenever they would fight, they would go straight to their comments or the chat.
Yeah.
And the chat would gaslight them, and the chat would like persuade them into doing things, and like this would social experiment turns ass. It always will turn ass.
Yeah.
There's no good to come out of a social experiment, I feel like.
I mean, it depends on what the social experiment is. If it's to prove how far people are willing to go for views, it's killing someone. You don't need to experiment with that.
That didn't happen. That didn't happen in this case, by the way. But.
Oh, not this case. But I mean, listen, you don't think people weren't like riding that edge a lot more?
Oh, yeah.
Like people do that all the time.
You know, Squid Games was about, the world turning into nothing but entertainment for millionaires and billionaires, even if it meant killing random people.
Yeah.
And then we all saw that as humanity collective, and we're like, haha, that would be cool if we did that in real life.
And then
instead
Mr.
of
Beast
learning the
doing
lessons. And then
and we all like it. Mr. Beast, do more.
Idiocracy. If you guys have never seen the movie Idiocracy, watch it, because we're like real close to that timeline, I think.
we're not close to that timeline. We are already on that trajectory, I think.
Guys,
Where we're gonna have just trash pools everywhere.
it's a really old movie.
It's not that old.
funny.
It's from like 2005 or something.
Not that old, he
Something
says.
that's really okay.
Dalton, 2005 is a long freaking... I was in 5th grade, Dalton.
But is that really that? It's not an old movie. When I think
Yes,
of
it
an
is.
old movie, I think of like, oh my God, never mind. Point being is that it's a crazy movie. Yeah. And it paints where we're going. That's where like literally the president is named. What was his name?
The president was a wrestler.
Yeah, he was a pro wrestler and
Played by Terry Crews.
He was sponsored by Mountain Dew, so his name was Mountain Dew, something Mountain Dew. I don't fucking remember. It's just the whole movie is batshit crazy.
The whole movie
and
is about where
rehabilitation
we're
is
headed.
basically killing people.
Yeah.
Rehab. Let's go to rehab and you're dead.
And they run you over with a monster truck.
Yeah. One funny thing about that movie, they had Crocs in that movie.
Crocs?
Yeah,
like the shoes?
The shoes.
Crocs.
And the funny thing is, those shoes were not on the market when that movie came out.
Nuh-uh.
Yes. They just discovered those shoes and were like, wow, those are ridiculous. He should be wearing those.
Oh, what,
and then
for
they
real?
got popular.
Crocs
Yeah.
are actually popular. I don't know if
Look
they
up the
still
year
are,
that movie
but
came out and then look at like when Crocs took off. It is literally right after that movie. It's crazy.
Idiocracy.
But yeah, that's my favorite like little
2006.
note about
Crocs
that movie.
Shoes.
That and like Tom Kenny is like the voice of random like robots in that movie and
That's
like
really fun.
autumn AI. So like there's this AI that tattooed his like social security onto his arm, and then it asked for his name, and he's just like, for some reason he said not sure to say something, to like answer something, but it took as his last name, first and last name.
My name is not sure. Or yeah,
No, my
he
name
was
is
like, can
not-
you say
not
your name?
sure.
Say it now. And he's like, sure, okay. And
It's
then it's
not,
like, oh, sure.
not sure. Not it just the whole scene was silly. It's funny because he got not sure tattooed on him.
What a way to live.
Yeah. But yeah, that's our story about Y2K.
Oh, yeah, and the world
the
happening.
degradation of society and where
What's happening right
we
now.
are. We are here in the apocalypse.
Exactly.
You guys are here in part of that degradation of society, and hopefully one day we'll be in the slums together.
One day we'll finally be free from this cage.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of dystopian stuff, check out these dead videos here.
Yeah, please
Nobody's
check them out.
watching them because our channel's dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dead channel. See
You know-
above Emmy's head?
You know, some people have been watching, though.
Yeah.
I see you.
Yeah.
I see you when you comment. I look at all of them. I look at all of the comments. I see all of you. I see
you
every
see?
single thing